There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the Cryptids of the Corn.
But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
A great white shark was stolen.
Oh, someone stole a shark?
I got stuff for you don't even know about.
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. Anything could be possible.
It's really big abduction vibes.
Holy moly.
It sounds like you were abducted.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Well, welcome back. I am the great and powerful Mr. E,
And I am the infamous Jay, and I suppose
the nuclear-powered J.
the nuclear-powered Jay. I like it. And I suppose we all did feel that way in some sorts.
Oh gosh, we'll get back to that day. Today, this topic is about the demon core, the nuclear explosions, and what they meant for the world of the paranormal. I have a lot in the back end to kind of connect it. We have a lot of history to get through first.
You got a lot on your back end?
Yeah, I mean, always. I wish my pants wouldn't fall down as much. Let's rush through the front of house stuff as always. Paranormality Magazine, we're affiliates. If you use the code Corn Crew, we get some kickback if you buy anything from the magazine.
Corn Crew.
Corn Crew. YouTube. Get on our YouTube, get subscribed. The Launcher documentary series is getting ready to come out soon this month. The first episode will be out. Get ready for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. The voicemail box, we have a voicemail box link in the below. If you want to share your encounter through the voicemail, we greatly appreciate it. You should hear the first one later this week that we have it used. Also, if you just want to say hi or shout out the show or whatever, we may even sprinkle those in here and there.
Yeah.
Anything you want to use the voice out thing.
Just
We're
send
paying
us-
for it, so use it.
Yeah, if you just want to send us a message,
Please do.
yeah.
We'd love to hear from you. P.O. Box. So if you want to share
Oh.
like any art, if you want to share any postcards, like we get a lot of postcards now, which is awesome. People travel around and
Postcards, art, letters,
any of it.
trinkets.
Please send it.
It's
just-
a P.O. Box. That would be P.O. Box number 75 in Ada, Ohio, 45810.
just no anthrax, please.
I prefer not that.
That's why Jay opens all the boxes. Merch. We have our merch website fully up and running. There's all kinds of cool stuff. Lunch boxes, glow in the dark cups, speaker cups,
All of our T-shirts, obviously, but
and all kinds of cool like limited edition T-shirts, all that fun stuff. And that's at cryptidsofthecorn.com.
Yep.
Click on the shop tab and then click the green shop button and you'll go to the store. Conferences. We just got over the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. That was a ball. It was so much fun. We're recording this beforehand, so
highly recommend it.
oh yeah. B Mills is the one that runs it, and B's a great lady. Bigfooter of the Year 2019, I believe.
Dang.
You know how crazy it is to get that because that's the whole U.S.
Wow.
So good job, B.
Yeah.
B's a workhorse.
Yeah, she is. B's awesome.
Next week or the week after next week, whatever, the 26th of August.
Squonkapalooza.
Squonkapalooza in
Johnstown, Ohio.
Johnstown, Ohio.
We got it right this time.
Ohio?
I didn't. I screwed up. Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
I was like, yeah, I even
Dang
went
it.
right with you. I was just following it.
Yeah. Oh, I almost got it.
No, yeah, get ready to hang out with us there. It's going to be so much fun. And once again, we have Freudian Airwaves here in Ada, Ohio, with all of the big podcast mega show. 3 days of fun, $50 ticket. Gets you everything but food and drink. It's a cash bar. If you're going to book a hotel, use the LinkedIn tree. You get the special rate, but that goes away September 6th. So make sure you get your hotel room booked.
Yeah, so once again, Freudian Airwaves. Find all the information on our Facebook page or on any of our socials. Come check it out. If you'd like to come see us, that'd be the perfect opportunity.
Yep, and if you're coming to a conference, let us know. We always like to learn everybody's faces and names beforehand. And if you guys were at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference, I know this is like weeks after, but it's like the weekend after for us. If you guys were at that, and apparently we didn't get to go this year. It was just too soon after me having the baby and everything. Well, my wife having the baby, us gaining a baby. It was just too soon for us to travel that far and do a whole conference, everything like that. Apparently, there was a ton of our shirts there. You guys were supporting like crazy.
That's awesome.
So thank you guys so much. It means a lot to getting all these messages from people like, hey, we seen your shirts. Hey, and then like we're friends with Tony Merkel and stuff like that. And I seen pictures with Tony and the people wearing our shirts with Tony and stuff like that.
It just makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
It's crazy. So we just wanted to thank you guys for supporting us in every way, because that's like a walking billboard for us.
Oh yeah, it is.
So thank you. If you guys want to contact us for anything, the email is the best way to do that, and it's cryptidsofthecornpodcast@gmail.com. All right, you ready for some new reviews?
Yes.
These are all Spotify this week, so flip-flop. From CFC, love the season finales. Great show, guys. Can't wait for season 4. Well, hopefully you liked it last week. I was a little, I don't feel the best about it, but I never do.
Never. And every episode stinks to you.
Yeah.
Or you're unsure of.
I'm like, man, I wish I could have done it better.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the comment, though.
CFC, thank you. Michael, Betty Hill? Oh, Betty Hill.
Yes.
Thinking of canceling my upcoming vacation into the Bahamas after listening to this one. He's talking about the season finale. Oh, you'll be fine. Probably.
Probably, yeah.
John R. Carter. 2 random ideas. 1, emotional support cryptids. 2, Stratchquatch. That's all.
What is it?
Stratchquatch.
How do you spell it? Let me see it.
STACHESQU.
Stash squatch, like a mustache.
I don't remember what episode that was on. I should have put it down.
Stash squatch.
Tom says, love this episode and the topics. Can't wait for more. Cryptids of the Corn is my absolute favorite podcast. I listen to pretty much daily while I'm at work.
Oh, thank you.
Justin and Jay are amazing hosts. Hilarious and informative. Well, thank you, Tom.
I
That
appreciate
means a
it.
lot.
Yeah.
Now,
It just comes natural.
yeah, sure.
We're professional podcasters. That's just what we do.
The little tadpole. So they have commented several other times before. What about koalas? For Aussies here, please tell us what happened with the koalas. So they're talking about, this was on the Monsters in the Marsh, the Shoebill episode.
Okay.
Little tadpole, you'll have to put on another episode what you're talking about, because I don't remember.
Yeah, with the koalas.
I don't understand. Maybe it was in that episode. Keep in mind, for us, that was probably like a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
So
just, shoot us an email or
shoot us
something.
a refresher,
Yeah.
and we'll happily talk about it.
Yep.
Kay says, I listened to these guys first, the interview on Strange Roads, and came over here. Now I'm hooked. My ADA brain loves the way the information is delivered and the stories you are told. You guys rock. Well, thank you, Kay. Like Asian Kay. All right. So I promise, guys, you got to hang in there. But we will get to the paranormal side of this stuff. But first, I want to talk about, we're going to talk about the Demon Core.
Yeah.
So the Demon Core is a pretty, I'm going to say, cool thing in the way that it is a very amazing thing that was built, but it did earn its name.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. It's interesting, that's to say the least.
The Demon Core. I guess, before I continue on, do you have any prior knowledge to what the Demon Core is?
I mean, other than what we've already discussed, but other than that, no, not really.
Okay, good.
So it's going to be pretty informative, I guess, for me right now.
The Demon Core was a spherical 14-pound subcritical mass of plutonium, 89 millimeters in diameter, manufactured during World War II in the United States Nuclear Weapons Department effort in the Manhattan Project as a feasible core material for the early atomic bombs. I'll come back to all that. So keep in mind what I said. I said subcritical mass of plutonium.
Okay.
So it was actually, so it sat on a desk. It was pretty safe, like, until something happened. It's fairly, like, subcritical is it's just there. It's just existing. It's kicking off a little bit of radiation, but nothing like horrible
Nothing will melt your skin off.
yet.
Oh, boy.
The demon core does claim people.
Claims people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, you're mine, and you're on my team.
You know, like you're putting, and now you're putting.
Oh, pudding.
I'm going to remove some DNA blocks from you, and then you just kind of melt. It happened. So the core was prepared for shipment, a part of the third nuclear weapon to be used on Japan, but Japan surrendered. And the core was retained at Los Alamos for testing and practical later use. So what they were doing, so Japan kind of knew, and there's a lot of controversy about Japan's surrender and all that stuff. We're not here to get into that. We're not a political podcast like for that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of people say that Japan was going to surrender, and it was the way they were waiting to figure out how they wanted to surrender because it's like their God Emperor and all this stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff with it. And the second nuke got dropped without, I believe it was without Truman's knowledge.
Oh, wow.
So the second one, because they had it ready to go, Japan kind of knew we had these things.
Yeah.
But they knew we would never fly them over the open ocean or carry them on cargo ship over the ocean because they were so unstable at this time.
Okay.
You know what we did?
What'd we do?
In the back of the Enola Gay, they built them at when they were in the air above the target sites.
Oh, okay. So they built them in the air.
Yeah. They assembled them in the air. It's crazy. It's crazy. They literally had these scientists in the back of the Enola Gay doing these things. And then once they pushed them out the back, the Enola Gay had to just go straight up.
That's scary.
And they were like, in the Enola Gay after the first one, little boy went off. He said it got so hot in the cockpit. Keep in mind, they're like 7, 8, 10 miles above.
Yeah.
It got so hot they felt like they were in an oven. They were almost passed out from the heat. And
That's
we'll get to the nuclear blast because I 100% believe it affected the paranormal world 100%.
Yeah. Open something up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we have an eyewitness to all that. We'll get to there. The demon core was supposed to be the third one. So it was built. So it's like this little metal. It's this little ball of plutonium in this sheet.
Okay.
And so it involved the two critical accidents at Los Alamos Laboratory in August of 45 and May of 46. Each resulted in in fatalities. Both experiments are designed to demonstrate how close the core could be to critical without temper. And in any case, the core was accidentally placed into critical.
Oh.
So it was this thing was like a paperweight.
Yeah.
And it was propped open with a screwdriver, which we'll get to.
Not good.
And it was fine. It was fine as long as the dome was open.
Yeah.
It had to be open a little bit to let so it was in subcritical. The second it closes, millisecond, that it's not escaping, it goes bad fast.
Okay.
This is an unshelled nuke.
Okay. So it can blow, is what you're saying.
Yeah, everything would be dead.
Yeah.
The core is eventually melted down in the summer of 46 for material recycled and used in other cores.
Okay.
We'll talk about in a minute. We'll get to the paranormal about this. The manufacturing in the early history, the demon core was the second core. This demon core was like the second core used in the bombing of Nagasaki. Was when assembled, it was a solid 14-pound sphere measuring, the 89 millimeters in diameter or 3.5 inches.
Okay.
The thing that leveled Nagasaki was 3.5 inches wide.
That's craziness.
I don't think people understand. This is nature. This is literally nature. I know it's a bomb that we built, but it's just plutonium.
Yeah.
It's just the power inside of plutonium.
Where's that? That's just a naturally occurring element. Right?
Super rare earth element.
Right.
To get this much of it in one spot is insane. So it's measuring this. It's consistent of 3 parts. The 2 plutonium gallium hemispheres in a ring designed to keep the neuroflex from jetting out in joint surfaces between the hemispheres during implosion. So there's these 2 outer cores, 2 halves of the shell, and then this ring that goes around it, and the core sits in the middle.
Gotcha.
So from jetting out during the surface between the hemispheres during implosion. The core was a device used in the Trinity test at the Alamogordo bombing in Gunny Range in July that did not have such a ring. So there was one. The refined plutonium was shipped to the Harford site in Washington State in Los Alamos Laboratory. Los Alamos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What is Los Alamos?
Wasn't Los Alamos was it the prison? What am I thinking of?
I don't know what you're thinking of.
Oh, what's it? Then what is Los Alamos?
It's just like so even like
Or was it the bombing testing facility?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
but it's connected to now UFO
That's
culture
right.
and everything like that.
That's right. Funny
and
thing.
what's his name? The whistleblower from Area 51.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar was at Los Alamos and
Gotcha.
stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that connection.
And MythBusters have been to Los Alamos several times.
A funny thing about those old videos.
Funny.
Well, yeah, this is funny actually.
Okay.
Those old videos of like the bombing, like the testing where they tested like the nuclear bombs, and you see the videos of them, like the buildings getting leveled, the trees like getting leveled and all that stuff. So there was a guy that was just on the Joe Rogan show talking.
Oh, yep.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So like there was like vehicles, like obviously the videos were spliced together, like it wasn't real. And they were saying, it could have been just like little model sized versions of things that they were, it wasn't actually like, they weren't actually blowing up like giant bombs that they were, recording. So I wonder if they would just record those for like just propaganda purposes, or they didn't actually want to blow up their.
No, I fully believe they blew up these bombs, and because it's what killed John Wayne and most of the actors of that time. Did you know that? Did we talk about this ever?
I don't know.
So near Los Alamos, with the Trinity testing sites, there is a valley next over that they basically rented out for westerns.
Yeah.
John Wayne is like 80% of the cast of this one
Film
got cancer and died within a year, including John Wayne. And what had happened is the sand was so nuclear radiated, but it was so low it normally didn't affect people.
Yeah.
They had giant fans because they needed a sandstorm for this one. And so the sand was kicked up in the air. People were breathing in the sand.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was like, it's just around the corner from when they were testing the nukes.
That's crazy.
Years before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Have you ever heard somebody say the U.S. government killed John Wayne? That's what they did. They kind of, in a long about way, like they are with our water system or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, where is I? The inventory. So this was added to the inventory August 30th in Los Alamos. And I have its whole court date, or its little date and everything like that, but we don't need that. The metallurgist used a plutonium gallium alloy, which stabilized in the phase of the atropic phase of the plutonium. It could be a hot pressed into a desired sphere shape. Plutonium was formed to be Courade ready. The sphere was coated with nickel.
Okay.
That's what gave it that shiny appearance. On August 10th, Major General Leslie R. Grover Jr. wrote to the General of the Army, the next bomb will be an implosion type. It has been scheduled for ready for delivery for target first good weather of August 24th, 1945. We have gained 4 days in manufacture and expect to ship the final compounds to New Mexico on August 12th and 13th, providing there are no unforeseen difficulties in manufacturing, in transporting to and therefore in the arrival into the theater. The bomb should be ready for delivery on the first suitable weather day of August 17th or 18th. The Marshal added that this notation. It is not to be released on Japan without express authority from the president himself, as President Harry Truman was waiting to see efforts of the first 2 attacks. And we'll get into that. There's a lot of controversy just for that statement alone.
Yeah.
On August 13th, there's a third bomb to be scheduled. It was anticipated that it would be ready by August 16th and to be dropped by August 19th, and preemptive by Japan's surrender of August 15th. So they barely made the cut. And this one was for Tokyo. The Demon Core was for Tokyo.
Oh, good thing they didn't do it. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
That's where all the sumo wrestlers are, their
Whaling probably wouldn't be a big issue today.
tournaments are held. Yeah.
They'd been back in the Stone Age.
Oh, for sure.
Like, literally. There's a lot of controversy with using a nuke, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm not here to tell anybody whether it was right or wrong. It was just happened.
Yeah. I don't think it's right. That's for sure.
So while preparations were still being made and Kirkland Airfield, the third core remains at Los Alamos. So we'll get to the incidents. So this was the one that was supposed to take out the most people.
Yeah.
So I believe it was.
And they had it propped open with a screwdriver.
I think it was Hiroshima was not supposed to be the first target. It was like third on the list. But the first city they were supposed to bomb was covered by a fog blanket.
Oh, okay.
And they couldn't see it, and they didn't want to drop it without being able to see what they were doing.
Right.
In the second city, as they were going over, they were, I think it was Hiroshima, maybe Nagasaki, but they were going over and immediately started getting lit up by anti-aircraft rounds.
Gotcha.
So that they were getting toward, they were supposed to go to a different city, not Hiroshima, and then they were not going to have enough fuel to get back while carrying the thing. The thing was like 13 tons.
So like, let's just stop at
They
Hiroshima.
had to. They had to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And they had to take out something because it was supposed to be a show of force.
Yeah, it was.
And it's just like, it's crazy. It's just all this weird stuff, like all this political stuff. Like Truman approved the first one, but who did Truman replace? Now I don't remember.
Which
What
president?
Yeah. Anyways, he was consoling his wife after the president died, and
okay.
she's like, "Why? I don't know why you're consoling me. You're the one in trouble."
Yeah.
Because this is like the worst thing. Like you have to make bad decisions. Like because he died of I think he died of a heart attack.
I wonder why.
And he's just like, you have to make like this is gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Because hundreds of thousands of people died on bomb day, and then
Oh yeah.
a bunch of people melted. We'll get to there.
And
We'll get
things-
to how horrible.
Yeah.
I guess there's warnings. We should give warnings before we get to there. We'll give warnings before we get to there. It's bad. But the Demon Core was supposed to be the one that takes out Tokyo.
Mhm.
And it was literally, so it had this little metal core of plutonium with these two metal alloy shells. And to keep it subcritical, one scientist we'll talk about had it as a joke. He had it propped up with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And yeah, being funny. And it was sitting in the room full of people.
Hey, well, I guess it worked.
No, it didn't.
I mean,
it did not work.
While the screwdriver was in there, it did.
Yeah, but it's not. It's like saying the lock on the door works until the door gets kicked in. No, the lock didn't do its job.
It was there.
Okay, so the first incident, the core was assembled and was designed to be a 5-cent piece in size. And there was a state where there was only a small safety margin assessed by the externalist factors that might increase reactivity, causing the core to become supercritical. And then the prompt critical, a brief state of rapid energy increase. So there's this point, like supercritical is when it goes boom.
Right.
Prompt critical is that ramp up.
Okay.
It only lasts a couple seconds.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So these factors are not common in any environment, and there are circumstances like the compression of a solid metallic core, which would eventually be the method used to explode the bomb in addition to more nuclear materials. The previous is the external factor that would reflect the outborn neutrons back into the core. So basically, the core is constantly kicking out these neutrons.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the slit's for,
Mhm.
is to get rid of them. When the core closes, the neutrons bounce back, and it's like a feedback loop.
Okay.
A feedback loop that can level a city.
Yeah, because it's constantly trying to spit them out.
It's constantly spitting them out.
And then it's constantly getting bombarded back into it with them.
So experiments conducted on Los Alamos leading to the two fatal accidents were designed to generate the core was indeed close to critical point by arranging such reflectors to see how many neutrons reflections was required for their approaching supercritical. So they were playing around with it to see how close you could get it before it kicked over.
Testing the limits.
So on August 21st, 1945, the plutonium core produced a burst of neutron radiation that led the physicist Harry Donglin's death. Donglin made a mistake while performing the neutron reflective experiment on the core. He was working alone. A security guard, Private Robert J. Harmley, was seated at the desk 10 to 12 feet away. The core was placed within a stack of neutron reflectors, tungsten carbide bricks. And the addition of each brick moved the assembly closer to critical. While attempting to stack another brick around the assembly, Dingley accidentally dropped it on the core.
Oh my gosh.
And therefore caused the core to go into supercritical mode. A self-sustaining critical chain reaction had begun. He quickly moved the brick off the assembly and received a extremely fatal dose of radiation. He died 25 days later.
Dang. That's crazy.
How
bad? What bad luck?
Yeah, you don't play with these things.
Dropping a brick. Yeah, don't drop a brick on one. That's probably good advice.
Yeah.
Don't drop a brick on a demon core. It'll get mad. I can guarantee it.
You can guarantee what?
That the demon core will get mad if you drop a brick on it.
So yeah. It's insane that they were just sitting here playing with this, like that could happen.
Right, yeah. Oh, it is. I bet that, that's kind of, I mean, was he worked for the government, so, or military, so.
Robert J. Harmley was from Whitehall, Ohio.
Oh, nice. That's not too far from here.
His security guard.
Nice, okay.
So he got a dose of radiation. He didn't die till 1978 though. He did die of leukemia.
Which is a form of cancer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty sure he died from the core incident, but he was 10 feet away
yeah.
and received a much lower dose of radiation.
Wasn't as close as the other guy.
The other guy was
the brick.
He
and then picked it up.
25. Well, he had to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the whole base is going to go.
Right, yeah.
The second story's worse.
What's the second story?
The second incident
Oh, gotcha.
is worse.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, so there's only 2 people in this room. Literally, it just had a screwdriver.
Yeah.
This thing was propped open with a screwdriver.
Screwdrivers work.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Not with this.
It was working until someone
Until you dropped a
screwed
brick, until an
Yeah.
accident. So, see, it doesn't work. On May 21st, 1946, physicist Louis Slaughton, we'll go Slaughton, and 7 other personnel were in the Los Alamos laboratory conducting another experiment to verify the closeness of the core to critical by positioning it in neutron reflectors again. Slaughton, who was leaving Los Alamos, was showing this technique to Alvin G. Graves, who would be used in its final test before its Operation Crossroad nuclear test scheduled a month later in Bikini Atoll.
Okay.
Bikini Atoll
Yes.
was the demon core.
That was?
Yes.
No, for real?
We'll get that. It's required to operate. It's required that the operator to place 2 half spheres of beryllium, a neutron reflector, around the core to be tested. This is that shell we were talking about. And manually lower the top reflector onto the core using a thumb hole on top. So literally, you're like, this core sits in this half sleeve,
Yeah.
and you're lowering the top on by hand because it goes from harmless to melt you.
And
Nothing.
no time at all.
So you're supposed to be lowered, but there's a screwdriver there to catch it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a screwdriver. Don't worry, there's a screwdriver.
Right, exactly.
So around the core to be tested manually by lowering the reflectors using the thumb hole. As the reflector was being manually moved closer and further away from each other, the Slaughton's counters measured relative activity from the core. The experiment needed to maintain a slight separation between the reflectors halves in order to stay below critical. The standard protocol was used to have shims between the halves, as allowing them to be closer completely as a result of inconsistent formations of the critical mass and lethal dose of or lethal power executions. Under Sultan's own unapproved protocol, the shins were not used, and the only thing preventing them from closing was a standard flathead tip screwdriver manipulated by Slaughton's hands himself.
That's pretty funny.
He got rid of all the protocol and replaced it because
With
he
the
thought it was
screwdriver.
funny.
Yeah. One time though, so at the bowling alley, I have those motors in the back that run all the machines, and one of them there's this reset switch. If the motor gets too hot, it'll kick this switch off. I forget the name of it. It starts with a K, but it kicks this switch, so the motor just stops. It loses all of its power, so it stops running, so it doesn't burn up. Well, one time there was a short just in the switch itself, not the motor, so that switch kept kicking the motor off by itself. So I constantly had to just hold the reset button down. So I took a flathead screwdriver, shoved it down, held the button down, tied a rag around it.
Should you be admitting this on public radio wave?
What do you mean? Yeah.
That violates a lot of code.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It gets you. It's called being a mechanic to get you through the night. And guess what? It got me through the night.
Yeah, Slaughton.
Yeah, it worked.
So Slaughton, who was known to be
my
given
guy.
to bravado moments,
Yeah.
became the local expert performing the test on almost a dozen occasions, often with his trademark blue jeans and cowboy hat and boots in front of a room full of zururs in lab coats and military attire.
He's my kind of guy.
Ernesto Furman reportedly told that Slaughton and others would be dead he told everybody they'd be dead within a year.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
he just dead within a year.
What a
They continued
goofball.
performing in the test in this mirror. He was literally came in and dressed up he was not a cowboy.
Yeah, but
He was a
like
nerd.
Yeah.
He came in he would dress up like a cowboy to do these experiments that leveled, killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah. What a goofball.
Yeah. So the scientists referred to this as flirting with the possibility of a nuclear chain reaction as tickling the dragon's tail.
Okay. Jeez.
Based on a remark. These are the guys that made the nuke.
Yeah, they're making these jokes. That's not good.
Remarked as a physicist, Richard Flinman, who compared the experience to tickling the tail of a sleeping dragon.
Oh my gosh.
Now the day of the accident.
Yeah, I wonder, this was coming.
Slaughton's screwdriver slipped outward a fraction of an inch when he was lowering the top reflector. allowing the reflector to fall onto the core. Okay. Instantly, the room turned blue. Instantly, the core was glowing like a sun. Like the guy, like keep in mind, this room has 14 people in it.
Yeah.
Instantly, everybody was like bathed in blue light. The core was glowing like a star.
Yeah.
Slotin reached down. He picked the top off and threw it down. And he said, well, that'll do it.
Because he knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, his hand melted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
He's the only one that died directly from this day.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me get to it. I have how much he received. He received 1,000 times lethal dose.
Man. What a mistake. Should have used those wood shims.
Like a lot of the other guys died from like heart disease, radiation poisoning. Like nobody died directly of the accident that day.
Yeah.
It was all the aftermath stuff.
Right, yeah.
And it was just like if you were 2 foot further away from the next guy, you may live another 19 years than him.
Gotcha.
It was just crazy stuff like that. So yeah, he literally like the way they described it, and his demeanor changed a little bit.
I bet a little bit.
Hubris went away.
I bet he could have stopped wearing the cowboy hat.
Well, no, he's melted.
Yeah.
Literally in the hospital, they described him as like he lived for 9 days. And the last couple of days, he was like a puddle. Like his bones were liquefying.
He was like a squonk.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Because it breaks apart your DNA.
Oh, yeah.
It breaks your DNA chains down.
Like the covalent bonds between.
So you literally start turning into jelly.
I could try a J flavored jelly and
So-
toast.
This guy is just screwing around with, at that point in time, the most single powerful weapon
Deadliest weapon.
on the planet.
Yeah. And he has it playing
It's
around
already
with a screwdriver.
killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Gosh dang.
And he's dressed up like a cowboy and screwing around with people. And like the scientists that visit would see these things and were like, yeah, they'll all be dead within a year.
Yeah. Like a rhinestone cowboy.
Yeah, he was rhinestone. So I just want to do the description again because when the core fell, the little topper fell,
Yeah.
just the screwdriver's width.
Yeah.
It glowed like a star instantly. No, like there was no like it was warming up. It was
Right.
instantly glowing like a
Yeah.
star, and the whole room
Went
was
blue.
in a blue light.
So did it? And obviously it didn't explode right then and there, but
Oh, it was only on there for like half a second because he reached right down
and grabbed
and he
it.
picked it up off,
Yeah.
and he set it down and he said, "Well, that'll do it."
I'm done.
As his hand was falling apart.
Jeez, that's nuts. That's insane.
The day he was supposed to retire, this was his last experiment.
Oh my gosh.
Now, with the Demon Core, there's some unsubstantiated claims. A lot of guards have come forth. A lot of the other scientists that were visiting talked about it like talking.
Yeah.
Or it had an aura around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt evil.
Yeah.
And that could be the whole persona of it just killed. Like the things, same type of thing just killed hundreds of thousands of people. Innocent people, just people.
Just people.
And
normal every day.
so looking at that and looking how nonchalantly these guys are dealing with this thing, it almost, so like I said, some guards would like ask to be changed like further away from it and stuff like that. And they could say that it was fear,
Yeah.
but some people come up and said like, it almost sounded like it was whispering at sometimes. Or there'd only be one scientist in there, and it sounds like he was talking to somebody. And it was like that's why it kind of got, well, besides it killing everybody, it kind of got nicknamed the Demon Chorus because they said it was like it was full of demons.
Yeah. Which it may have been.
We'll get there because it's
big energy center right there.
the big availability to have an energy. Yeah, it's insane. What do you think about the Demon Core so far?
I just think that the old rhinestone cowboy guy is silly. He's still just a goofball.
Yeah, it's how you're gonna die one day.
What
is
a goober.
shoving a screwdriver into a bowling alley machine as it eats you.
Now, I have almost got caught into a bowling alley machine. I was very close. I got my hand caught in a pulley once. Pretty dang
I
scary.
got a big chunk of my hair ripped off from a pulley.
Oh my gosh, that's scary. Nah, moving parts and demon cores are not to be played with.
Yeah, dying. Just the nonchalantness. Doesn't it almost like seem like there was something else going on?
Like it tricked him into treating it like as just nonchalantly.
Yeah.
Like
Or like there's this aura. I don't know. It's like some haunting stuff.
it's like Wear the cowboy boots to work today.
Wear
Match it with the hat.
Wear the silk gloves when you're trying to lower the core top down.
Yeah. You don't need the wooden shims. That's a waste of time. The screwdriver's funnier. Guy's like, you're right.
He's like, yeah, like you can't find the shims. Just use the screwdriver.
Yeah.
No, it'll
be funny. Make a joke of it.
But it's
Everyone
just
be
like
cool.
the weird, like, and the other people around them at the base were not happy with how things were being done, but they were like the only guys that could do it.
Yeah.
So they were.
They had nothing. They couldn't do nothing
yeah.
about it. Yeah. That's nuts.
It seems very. It's always screamed odd to me that these guys are just like screwing around, goofing off.
To me, not really. I don't know. It's just,
keep in mind these are scientists. 1940, World War II.
Yeah.
They've killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, not the scientists, but
they have. They built the thing.
Well, true, but they didn't see it. They weren't actively dropping it or.
A lot of the other scientists that left the project immediately after it was done. Like they had a couple days of feeling like they were like war heroes.
Yeah.
Then a lot of them, like there were suicides. There was all this stuff. Like they instantly, like Oppenheimer himself, you guys heard him at the beginning, felt instantly horrible what he'd made.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys just like some of them thought it was cool for a couple days, and then they're like,
"Oh wait,
this is gonna be used on
people."
Yeah. And the U.S. government had to animalize
people,
the Japanese, in order for us to use it on them. Like literally, that's what they were doing. These campaigns that they were training these kids, and like it wasn't real. Like how I don't know. They're not a political podcast, but it's just to use this weapon on people. They had to criminalize and animalize other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but to me, their behaviors, because it was like these guys were just goofing off, having fun. He's dressed up like a cowboy today.
Yeah.
So he was that scientist was cutting holes in the fence, and he was playing pranks. Like he would check out a base and then appear back into base.
What do you mean?
He was like, he would drive to work, clock in, check into the base. He would leave work, check out, but he had cut a hole in the fence. So he would sneak back into base and act like he was leaving work again. He was screwing with everybody.
Yeah.
Like there was it was so, like there was so much weirdness around this aura of this third core.
So it's like a trickster in there.
Yeah. Almost like a trickster spirit. It was.
Yeah.
Like he was possessed almost is what I get.
Yeah.
Like it was like.
Or it's influencing him to do these things. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Never really thought of that before, but I didn't know this stuff.
It's weird.
It is very strange because you would think someone in that situation creating a device like this wouldn't be acting like this at all whatsoever.
Like you said, Einstein walked away from the project. Well, we didn't say that on air. We talked about it off air. Einstein walked away from the project after he seen what it was going to be used for. Like he just was like, I'm done. You know, it was. He wanted it to be a deterrent, not a use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what's Mr. Miyagi say in Karate Kid? You know, karate not for attack, karate for defense.
Mm-hmm. So it's like that kind of stuff. And then Oppenheimer, Oppenheimer's a weird man himself in the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know how true to form it is.
Right. I mean, it's
I like
Hollywood.
the actor they hired for him though. I can't think of his name.
I have no idea.
But he's got like a very like deadpan face, and it's
like
perfect
Oppenheimer.
it's perfect for Oppenheimer.
Emotionless.
It's just like a lot of people died around this project, whether it was suicide or weird deaths, and it was just like it was an abomination almost.
And not
front.
Right. And we're dealing with like even today's climate, like the threat of nuclear war is on the precipice. So it ain't funny stuff. Like it's.
And he's dressed up like a cowboy breaking into the base. He would screw with guards. And like he kept getting threatened to be fired, and he would go, "I want to drop a core today."
Yeah, gosh, what a goofball!
Yeah, what a goofball! And he would like play with it. I think I can't remember. There's a story of him putting something in somebody's drink, like like a small nuclear core and stuff like that.
Jesus, I heard he used it like a fushigi ball too.
Probably. Whoa! Throws it against the wall, and the whole base is just gone.
That's part of his demonstration was like a fushigi trick with the ball.
Ooh, look at it go!
Yeah.
Wow! Just throws it against the wall as hard as he can.
Well, that'll do it.
Well, that'll do it. It's just weird. And he said that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he didn't really get the chance to explain it because bones started melting.
Knew though.
But what did he mean? Was it the demon talking through him, being like, "Well, that'll do it"?
I would say more like he knows he's dying. He's actively dying.
Yeah, he's done. Like literally, there's one picture of his hand instantly after, and there's just a hole through it.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Like just gone.
That's scary.
All right, now the next thing. I promise we'll get back to the paranormal side of the world.
Yeah,
This does connect. I promise. But I want to talk now about the nuclear bomb drops.
Okay.
And we have one survivor we're going to talk about. He was a pastor, one of the only Christian pastors in Japan. Like Japan is only like, even today, it's only like 6% Christian.
Mhm.
But he was like back then in the 40s, it was like the only one. Spoke English, all this stuff. But yeah, he's the one that's, what was that awful show? The Truman Show?
With Jim Carrey?
Was that the one where the old one?
The old one. Truman
don't-
Show is a movie, I'm pretty sure.
No, the movie's about the Truman Show.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have no idea.
Like there's the Truman Show, which they'd bring like gotcha moments and stuff like that. Anyways, they brought this pastor on and brought the pilot of the Enola Gay on, and this guy just looks like he's seen a demon. Because he is. To him, killed his wife, killed everybody.
Yeah.
Like this guy, and they had like a cry moment. And they actually end up, like, it was, both of them felt it was positive for them after. Because the Enola Gay pilot was like ready to kill himself.
Yeah.
Instantly. I mean, imagine dropping that thing.
No, I can't.
And you're 7-10 miles up.
I couldn't.
And instantly, the whole cabin is so hot you can't touch this. You can't touch the wheel. You can't touch the seats because it's all like you're in a boiling box. From
Yeah.
10 miles.
I
Anyways,
mean, I've done it on the game Civilization, but that's just different, I think. In person, I don't think I could even imagine seeing it.
so the atomic dropping, the most fearsome sight, the bombing of Hiroshima.
Is that what you just had a little bit ago in the bathroom?
Most fearsome sight?
No,
it's
well,
smell.
yeah, atomic dropping.
Oh no, that's every day. By July 1945, Germany had surrendered. Here's one thing I didn't know about World War II. I didn't know Germany surrendered first. And I don't know if I learned this wrong or if I didn't pay attention enough. Either are possible. That the only reason we dropped the nukes is because we wanted to stop dealing with Japan so we could deal with Germany.
Okay.
But that's wrong.
Yeah, because, wait, like you said,
Germany was done way before we started like dropping the nukes.
Wow. It's all just screwed up. There's just something nefarious with all the
100%. They just wanted to use a big bomb.
Yeah,
The
basically.
Japanese were easier than white people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. I mean, that's what it was. A whole
Well, I mean, all of it's like that.
Europeans still had family. Like Americans still had family in Europe. They knew
Right.
people in Europe.
Yeah.
The Japanese, they animalized them.
Well, it's still the same today. I mean, we only drop bombs on countries full of,
Not a
black
political
and,
podcast.
black and brown people.
Not
I know we're not. It's just facts are facts.
Facts are facts. Okay, so Germany had surrendered. The war in European was pretty much over. Japan, however, refused to submit to the terms outlined by the Allies' post-demands declaration. It appeared that American leaders, the only way to compel Japan to unconditional surrender, and that was the whole thing, they want unconditional surrender, was dropping these bombs. Although an estimated 300,000 Japanese civilians had already died from starvation and bombing rates, we were bombing Japan daily.
Oh, they didn't even. I mean, the two nuclear bombs, yes, did major damage, but they say like the fire bombings we did before that did way
I got
more
the
damage.
numbers.
Yeah,
I got the numbers.
Yeah.
But the fire bombings, you could move back in.
Well,
You
yeah.
couldn't move back into Hiroshima and Nagasaki for a while.
Well, yeah.
So Japan had already deployed more than 560,000 soldiers and thousands of suicide planes and boats and islands. Additional reports estimate that the Japanese military had executed all American prisoners in Japan in the event of the Allied landing. A firefight, U.S. forces suffered, like trying to get to the mainland, 49,000 casualties, including 12,000 men killed in action, facing less than 120,000 Japanese soldiers during the Battle of Okawa Island. And that's they just were decimating, the Japanese were decimating Americans at this because they were built in as a cliff face. That they were trying to make the Americans were trying to make the soldiers walk up the cliff face to get these guys, and they're just being shot.
So we were sending the soldiers for slaughter, basically.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting there. So Truman approved the long-standing plan for the U.S. Army Air Force to drop the atomic bombs listed as the pre-selected Japanese city targets. The list of targets excluded Tokyo and Kyoto, because of their political and historical importance. So they could try to claim that they were trying to avoid cities of high historic importance. So Hiroshima was like a business town, like it was just industry. Nagasaki was another one of these ones that had some historic importance, but was more industry than an old, long time standing town. I guess if you want to call that a mercy. So Hiroshima, a fan-shaped city, there's approximately 550,000 people had occupied on the Ata River, was also home to the headquarters of the Japanese Army and the defender of the island of Kurasha. So at 12:45 a.m. Monday, August 6, 1945, The three American B-29 bombers of the 57th Composite Group took off from the airfield in the Pacific island of Titaman, 1,500 miles south of Japan. Colonel Paul Tibbets piloted the lead bomber, the Enola Gay. Oh, yeah, it was Tibbets because that's the one that they talked to later.
Gotcha.
And he had the little boy on deck. 10,000 pounds. As a result, the overloaded Enola, so it weighed too much. The overloaded Enola Gay used more than 2 miles of runway to get loft.
Wow.
They had no planes big enough to get these things in the air. Really.
Yeah. Gosh, dang.
Meanwhile, in Hiroshima, Reverend, I'm going to try to pronounce his first name, but it's Tanimoto is his last name. Reverend Tanimoto, I'm just going to go with it. Awoke at 5 a.m. Hiroshima time, which was an hour behind Titaman's time. Tamamoto was a pastor of the Hiroshima Methodist Church, a small man, quick to talk, laugh, and cry. That's what all his friends described him. He was a good person. He was actually kind of persecuted for being a Christian in his town. Tanamoto was a thoughtful and curious man who had sent his wife and baby to relative safety of the northern suburbs. So he sent his family away because he knew the bombings were happening and stuff like that. Not just he didn't know the nuclear bomb was coming.
Oh, gotcha.
But they were getting
fire
bombs.
Yeah.
He didn't want to leave his church, but he wanted his wife and his baby to be safe. So he's like, go live in the countryside. When it's all over, I'll come out and get you. But for now, I got to stay with the church.
Right.
So Tanamo was thoughtful and curious and man. He sent his wife. Tanamo remained in the city to remove and transport objects from his church into safety in the suburb estate. He slept poorly because of several air raids warning in previous nights. Hiroshima had not yet invaded any American bombing raids, but it was good fortune that he not expected to last. This morning, Tanamoto had agreed to help his friend move a large armory filled with,
Armor.
Yeah, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
I get a big chest full of clothes.
Yeah. Or armoire.
Armoire.
There we go.
There we go. Whatever the heck that thing is. So they two men had trundled a piece of the furniture through the streets, and they heard the air raid sirens go off. The alarm sounded every morning when the American weather planes flew overhead. So the men were not really particularly worried at this time.
Right.
Can you imagine that? Like, they're not worried because it's just the weather planes. Like,
Yeah.
literally, the Americans had weather planes flying over to just tell what the weather was back home.
Yeah.
They continued with the hard cart through the city streets. When a pair reached their destination, there was no sound of planes. The morning was still. The place was good, cool, and pleasant.
The silence before the storm.
At 8:14 a.m. Hiroshima time, the Enola Gay arrived to the city. The Enola Bridge, which the bomber Thomas Phoebe used as an aiming point, was clearly visible through the plane's bomb shield. Phoebe took control of the bomber and opened the bomb bay doors just after 8:15 a.m. Phoebe released the little boy from the restraints, and the boy fell from the Enola Gay. The plane jumped nearly 10 feet the instant it left.
Wow.
Tibbets immediately resumed control of the plane, banked sharp at a 150-degree turn. As he participated in this difficult maneuver he practiced this difficult maneuver for months, as he'd been instructed. He'd have 45 seconds to get away from the explosion. He had less than 45 seconds to get out. Not even the scientists who designed the bomb were sure if the Enola Gay would survive the shockwave of the blast.
That's crazy.
Little boy fell almost 6 miles in 43 seconds before detonating at an altitude of 2,000 feet. The bomb exploded, which forced more than 15,000 tons. 15,000 tons. Now I got the number right. 15,000 tons of TNT directly over a surgical clinic, 500 feet above the Enola Bridge. Less than 2% of the bomb's uranium-activated fusion. But the result reaction engulfed the city in a blinding flash of heat and light. The temperature at ground level reached nearly 7,000 degrees.
How did he live?
Oh, we'll get there. Fahrenheit in less than a second.
Gosh, dang.
The bomb vaporized people half a mile away from ground zero. Bronze statues and roof tiles fused together. And, okay, now everybody, if you got sensitive stomach, you got kids in the car, this is time to turn off for a couple minutes. Come back. Okay, so like I said, bronze statues melted, roof tiles fused together, clay melted, exposed skin of people miles away burned with the intensity of infused energy release.
Gosh.
At least 80,000 people died instantly.
So bad.
Reverend Tanimoto saw a tremendous flash of light cut across the sky in the east and the west and the city towards the hills. It seemed a sheet of the sun had been brought down upon the city. Because Tanimoto was 2 miles away from the epicenter of the explosion, he had a few seconds to throw himself between two large rocks in a garden of his friend's house. He felt a sudden pressure, and then splinters and pieces of boards and fragments of tile fell onto him. The house had collapsed along with the concrete wall surrounding the garden. The day grew darker and darker under the massive dust clouds. All right. Now, the next thing is where we get into the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So Tanimoto was completely buried by rock.
Right.
Instantly. This is probably the only reason he survived with what the condition he was in. It was like, I don't know if you're going to say God's thing or whatever. Literally, he got covered with this rock wall. So he's in between these two big rocks.
Right.
And then the rock wall covered him.
Yeah.
So he instantly got protected.
Very lucky.
So he crawled out like hours later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would stay in there as long as I could.
No, I mean, he couldn't. He was covered by bricks.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So he gets out. And the world he describes is terrifying and beautiful. So he describes it as these big flashes of fire all around. Like a whole overall, almost like he's in another world. It's all gray.
Okay.
He's like in a bubble. It's like it's almost silent. People with skin that had fallen off were walking around like zombies. He said people by the hundreds were walking into the river to cool off, and when they hit the river, they just died and started floating down the river. But it's like some part of their brain was like, try to get water.
Get to the water, yeah.
And he was just seeing this. And then he's seen these almost sheets or balls of green fire lightning moving through the town and in the sky.
Okay.
And he described them as almost being alive. But he was having trouble, like big sheets of electric fire.
Yeah.
They were green.
It almost sounds just like discharge or something.
Yeah.
Like electric
something
dischargers.
But the way he was describing it was like plasma.
Yeah.
But there was some like almost like moving through the city like fire without burning. And then some in the sky moving around.
Okay.
And then finally he started saving people. He started pulling people out, and he started trying to save people. He tried to dig his buddy out, and he tried to get his buddy's wife. It just was like they were in a different world for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's exactly right.
So, and then life started snapping back together. From the Enola Gay, the crew seen a gigantic purple mushroom cloud and a purple almost aura around the city.
Okay.
They'd already risen to a height of 45,000 feet, 3 miles above their altitude that they were supposed to be. And they were still boiling upward of some terribly, like they were still boiling alive in the plane. The plane was already miles and miles away, and the cloud looked like it had engulfed the bomber and spewed it back up. Even more fearsome, says Tibbets. To the sight of the ground below, the base of black clouds, green fires were spewing up everywhere amid the turbulent mass of smoke had appeared in a bubbling hot tar. Gosh. The city had seen so clearly in the sunlight a few minutes ago was now an ugly smudge of black, green, and purple completely disappearing under an awful blanket of smoke and fire.
Oh, gosh.
So this is all horrible.
Yeah.
But I think what Tamamoto was starting to see was the walls of reality starting to fall apart.
Like blend together or open up? Or
They were torn open.
Yeah.
Something like this, even the tests were smaller than this.
Yeah.
This one, and only burned 2% of its fusible material.
Dang.
Just 2%.
That's small.
I think what happened, personally, is that this green plasma, whether they were actually, even maybe like we talked about before, electric beings on the Earth, like that live in the Earth's magnetic field, they were probably affected. So a lot of people say that these nukes, why quote-unquote aliens are actually interdimensional beings, or beings living in other light spheres of our Earth.
Yeah.
And the nukes affect them too.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they're mad. That's why they're coming and abducting us. That's why they're,
They're like, what are you doing?
Because
Why are you doing this?
They didn't care about anything else because it wasn't affecting them. Now it's affecting them.
Right.
So these just the way he describes this seems just like the paranormal world was tore open. And then we know a couple years later, Roswell, and then the gigantic UFO flaps and the mysterious monsters, and then all this stuff just seems like it's pouring
It's like
from somewhere else.
maybe they just realized, like, oh, okay, there's ways into these other dimensions and stuff like that.
So let's talk about the paranormal side. Or do you have anything to say about Tamamoto and
In his
Tibbets?
experience.
So Tibbets, it's weird, and they got to meet later on, like I said, you know, and it's they both said it was a positive experience for them because Tibbets was a demon to the Japanese culture,
Right,
Like
yeah.
a literal demon.
Right.
Like so when Tamamoto had seen him, he was like, "That's a demon." Like he literally on the Truman Show, I think it was a Truman Show, looked at him like he was a demon.
Yeah.
It's so weird to see something like that because it's like
Might have to look that up.
he's
or
not looking
something.
at him like he's a human.
Yeah.
And then then Tibbets felt horrible as well because he's like, he'd been
He's
dropping bombs forever,
Say, I'm just doing my job. Like, this is what they assigned me to do.
but this bomb almost cooked him alive.
Yeah.
And do you think the scientists told him that the Enola Gay may not make it back? No,
No. Not
Like,
not a
instantly.
chance.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this whole experience before we move on?
I mean, I believe the man. He has no reason to lie about any of it, but it's just so wild but it's so dark and awful for our history in general. But I don't know. It's kind of scary to think about, to really imagine, put yourself in his shoes and seeing all this stuff.
So, I think the nukes ripped open a door to the other dimensions.
Yeah,
Whether you want to say demonic or in, like these side dimensions or even our own reality,
yeah,
like affecting these creatures that live in the Earth's electromagnetic field, these maybe even intelligent beings.
yeah.
You know, that could be what
Very well could be.
They could have been the screen fire electricity. Could have been them burning
Yeah, they're on fire. Like
in their version.
they're trying to run around and put it out, and they can't. Yeah, or like the blast itself just shook up their frequency or something, and just turned them into that, and now they're actively melting or quote unquote
They're-
melting,
yeah.
but falling apart by the seams.
And some people think that the demons had helped in the construction of the nukes because they were whispering of how to open the doors, not the destruction they would cause. That this would open the door to where they live,
To where they can come here.
pour through.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. Okay. And then this, so I have written, this could have attracted other entities from both space and everywhere else interdimensional and stuff, like a big beacon. This was, some people think that with normal alien theorists and stuff like that, think that the nukes were the first sign and that, like, hey, that civilization is getting close to destroying itself, or hey, they've hit the next level.
so let's go check them
It's
out.
time to check them out.
Yeah,
You know, they went from hitting each other with rocks to wiping off continents, or cities. You know, I think the nukes now, keep in mind, this is almost 100 years ago. I think we have some that'll wipe off small continents.
oh, I believe you, but I just they went from hitting each other with rocks to hitting each other with rocks.
It's because metal.
I know, it's just funny to imagine, and two, dropping nuclear bombs.
I mean, it happened very quickly.
Missed that. Look at
Keep in
him.
mind, planes were only invented like 30 years before this. Like planes as in the modern understanding, not the
okay, okay.
paragliders
Gotcha.
that the Wright brothers were using. I'm talking like a plane.
Orville and Redenbacher.
Yeah, Orville and Redenbacher. Anyway, so it's like we went very fast
Yeah.
from having like World War I had these little like kind of plane glider things that you could spy, and they weren't very good and they crashed a lot.
Yeah.
To World War II, 20 years later, this thing that wipes out a city.
Gosh, dropping what did you say, 13-ton or 13,000 pound?
10,000. A little boy.
10,000 pound.
I think Fat Man was 13 or 14,000 pounds.
Gosh, dang.
And we don't have any. I don't have any stories for Nagasaki what it looked like because they all died.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's close enough.
There's people.
I don't know how he survived. Like he was way too close.
Divine intervention.
And there was that other
perhaps.
guy. I should have looked up his name. That was survived both bomb drops.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that too.
That he got on a train to go move to the Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And then he survived that one.
That's insane. What did how bad of a commute would that be? Like
Just be
as you're
I
taking
think you
off,
should kill yourself at that point.
you're taking off, the explosion goes up behind you. Pew! Just missed that one.
No, he was in it.
Oh, he was in it?
Yeah, he was in both of them.
Oh my
Crawled out of the
gosh.
rubble.
Oh my gosh. And then I'm getting out of here. And then the next one happens again.
So what do you think about the demon side of it?
Well, I mean, war in general is an awful thing.
It's one of the four horsemen.
Yeah. And nuclear war. Like this is just this bomb itself is so bad. Like I can just see it being like demonically driven because it's basically like instant mass amounts of human sacrifice right there. That amount of energy release.
And that's something I didn't even cover. That like the amount of death.
Yeah.
The
involved
energy
in
release.
this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And not just humans, but everything.
Everything.
The earth. Like that section of earth is dead.
That way that he describes it, like being in this like gray,
Yeah.
is really reminds me of like people describing the little interdimensional bubbles.
I was gonna say that, or I wonder if it's too like just your brain and your eyes. It's, you know, we talk about shadow people.
I mean,
like
he just
can't
got
perceive.
a hell of a lot of radiation.
Well, that there's that too. Yeah, that side of it.
I guess I didn't even kind of think about it. He could have been imagining the green electric clouds because
Well, I was just saying like you can't interpret it. What's
I got
going
ya.
on. Like
Yes.
like I agree with you. Like the walls of reality are shifting or broken down to where you're seeing these other dimensions, and these other dimensions you can't even perceive with your own mind. And now that you're getting a glimpse of them, and your mind is like gray, make it gray.
I can see that. I kind of think though it was actually gray because it just reminds me so much of these interdimensional stories later.
Oh yeah, it could be.
I think this is the big scale of the interdimensional shift. That those creatures or the green things may have been creatures not purposely being there, that they got shoved there too.
Or even too, I just thought of you know how we think orbs we see are, you know, interdimensional beings, but the only glimpse that we get in our reality is just the
that.
orb.
Right.
So maybe it's these other creatures just moving through, and the only thing you can see is that.
And that may be why
light.
they're sporadic.
Right, right.
Because they're literally being damaged.
And they're running through all this.
Like, ah!
Yeah, like they're on fire.
It's just.
Either way, it's crazy and it's awful and sad and bad and
Now,
negative.
the amount of instantly insane cryptids we got after the 1940s.
Now, did this like in Japan in general or just all over
The
the world?
world.
Yeah, the world.
This is a world affecting thing. I think what happened, personally, my kind of working theory is this damaged the, whatever you want to call it, the ether, the veil. I think the veil of the ether is connected to the electromagnetic field of the earth.
Yeah.
Highly. I think this severely damaged it, causing the little spots to open up everywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
And these interdimensional monsters just to pour out.
Everywhere, yeah.
Like, and then it's later on in history, we've seen that they almost always, they pop up around these nuclear testing plants. They pop up around these government bases around the world. It gets weird.
What if too this explosion kind of set off any nuclear stuff we're doing now? Now it's like the electromagnetic sphere is super sensitive to it.
Right. Now it's getting, it's tore it open. It's hurting.
So they had to drop this bomb, like
Yeah.
in order for that to cause that effect, which means it's probably the development of this bomb was probably like demonically driven.
And I don't even know if it's not, let's say it's not, I think it may have been, but
Yeah.
let's say it's not demonically driven, that the government realized afterwards, like, oh, this opens doors.
Right, yeah.
We just happened to kick the first one. We kicked the door in
Yeah.
and all this stuff poured out.
Yeah.
And then, the next one, then they started doing it smaller scale and more focused, like Stranger Things.
Right. I was actually just going to Google that what that's based off of.
60s.
Started. Oh, so after the fact. Okay.
Yeah, it was the 60s.
Jeez.
I think the 60s.
Either way, it's after World War
60s,
II. It's
70s.
after we dropped these bombs, right?
So, so all these monsters, and even when you look at older cryptids from around the world, and I'm talking folklore cryptids from all cultures, they almost always seem to have biological backings.
Yeah.
Like for Earth. Like if you look at the bunyip from Aborigines, like we talked about last week, that's an animal. Whether you wanted to believe it's the walrus or the elephant seal or the dippo hippo or anything like that, it's an animal. It's some kind of animal. A giant platypus. It's an animal.
Right.
That all these ancient things of these giant birds and this stuff, they all fit animals.
Mhm.
Mostly. There are exceptions to there's a lot of exceptions to that, what I just said. That's a blanket term, but
some of them.
most of them previous fit animals.
Right.
Then after World War II, after these bombs dropped, after this giant massive death, that they get weird.
Mothman.
They get into jelly. They get into flesh cubes. They get into these weird two-dimensional creatures ripping through the forest. They get into, like you just said, Mothman. They don't fly. Mothman just moves.
Right.
Like
It kind of hovers.
Yeah. It's fitting, unconventional. The Veggie Man. All these like super weird things. The Octo Monster. Just this a mass of flesh and tentacles. It's just all these things just start pouring through from somewhere else.
Right,
That
exactly.
don't fit our definition.
It's like from a different biosphere or something. I don't know. Either way, it's scary to think about because, yeah, like we said earlier, if talking about that second bomb being dropped and he didn't know, it's like
So here's the thing with that, and if we want to and I'm not an expert on that,
yeah.
but I believe he had the order signed to be able to drop 2 bombs without, but they were still awaiting, Truman was still awaiting Japan's answer.
Right, yeah.
And then the guys with the bomb kind of went like, well, we have this order that if they don't surrender, we're allowed to drop a second one, and they just went ahead and dropped it.
Just went ahead and did it.
Truman did like,
Yeah.
we're still we're still talking to them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but what if, like, in order to set off, like, kind of following our theory, if this weakened the veil, what if they needed to drop both? Like, that was you had to have both explode in order for it to get weakened enough to where we can do these sort of things.
I have another kind of thought with this,
Yeah.
with the cryptids.
Yeah.
What if the cryptids, the scary, freaky monsters, are Earth's natural immune system reacting to such a devastating attack?
So it's basically creating the
It's
Earth.
pulling them from somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah.
Maybe deeper in the Earth, whatever.
However the Earth works or whatever it is. Yeah.
That this is the immune system reaction to something so devastating that it affected it. You know, so it's like, here's a bunch of monsters for you to deal with.
Well, Earth, I need you to start kicking your immune system into overdrive and, going after, all the evil that's running the world right now.
Also, this tear, if this is happening and there's things are pouring in, this could explain the missing 4-1 stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
That the people are just falling through holes.
Yep.
They're appearing as these stairs or whatever in the forest. They're appearing as they're just falling through into other places.
Yeah, the veil is just probably weak. Any weak spot that was weak before, beyond now, like present time, after that happens, probably like way worse. Or maybe they just move around a lot more. I don't know.
So after these bombs dropped, there was one guy that was, I believe it was in Russia, that they were going to try to affect the Earth's, like when they started making their nukes,
Yeah.
their whole goal was to launch them in the upper atmosphere and cause a climate shift.
Jeez.
So they could have more planting ground,
Okay.
and it would ruin the rest of the world. And they were going to do it until they fell, until the Soviet Union fell.
Jeez.
They were literally going to launch these nukes up into the upper atmosphere
To ruin the world except their place?
to make their place more habitable,
Right, yeah.
to make the Siberian tundra plantable.
Yeah. Yeah, because ain't nobody up there right now.
Mammoths, 6 people.
Yeah, 6 people, that's about it.
Mammoths.
Well, yeah, I mean, no bodies and people. Human beings.
Oh, mammoths are smart. They're like people.
Yeah, yeah, sure. All right. Yeah, whatever.
But no, I think literally that I really do think that the nukes drops just mainly from Tamamoto's description.
Yeah.
That whatever happens, like all this stuff afterwards is connected. That now, like it's just, and then the other thing, like all these nuclear bases, like Point Pleasant had what we think is a nuclear base underneath it, or one of these.
Yeah.
And all these monsters start popping up.
I was going to say something about them too. What if, all those bunkers they had that supposedly they stored the TNT into? What if that's not what those were for? And what if they were using those to contain like, little tiny demon core like things, and that structure contained it all, so they can experiment. And now they got multiple of them all over the place doing whatever they want to do, whatever lab is underneath there. It always just struck me odd as like those bunkers being, they're just storage facilities for our explosive guys. That's all it is. But they're pretty uniquely built and precisely built.
Well, yeah, we talked about why they are precisely built.
Well, yeah, to absorb that.
To point it down,
Right.
and point straight up, point it down.
But it's just odd to me. There's something there.
It's all odd.
It's all very odd.
What are your thoughts? Do you think this did it?
I mean, this is the biggest release of energy we probably produce in modern times.
Besides the Tsar bomb.
I don't know that for sure.
The Russians, it's the biggest nuke that's ever been recorded.
Okay.
They detonated.
Okay. And besides that, launching that manhole cover up into space.
That was underground. I think that's number 3.
Okay.
That's only number 3. That's 7 miles underground.
But either way, it's a high energy explosion.
And now we just keep doing it. They kept launching nukes forever, like testing out in the desert, testing in these deep holes, testing in the ocean.
Testing. But maybe they're doing, maybe it's for other reasons.
I think it started to rip apart the veil. Whatever you want to call the veil. Whether I fully believe it's the Earth's electromagnetic field is acting as the veil.
Yeah.
and that it's this bubble. It's literally a bubble, and that's why these weirdness zones appear as bubbles. Literally, all these people that talk about time slips,
Yeah.
they end up like I was in a bubble. I'm in a bubble.
Yeah.
It's because I think it's bubbling. Like he described it.
Bubbling.
Tibbetts described it as hot bubbling tar is what the surface of Hiroshima looked like.
So crazy. But that also, it might have actually been, not all the roads were probably boiling actively.
No, he's talking like the town, like the city itself.
Oh, gotcha.
Looked like hot bubbling tar.
Yeah.
It was black and smoldering and had bubbles in it. I literally think it started to rip into like the veil. It started to, and then these monsters, the Missing 411, the government's use of this.
Yeah.
I really don't think the government knew anything about these doors probably until this happened. And then like everybody was like, huh, is that pterodactyl?
And what if too, like leading up to it, you know, they were in contact with these demonic entities and they were giving them the information to construct these things, to allow them to drop them so they could allow, you know, maybe their more physical forms or their friends and their other counterparts to enter their way into this world to affect it to the conditions we kind of see today. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if it's purposeful or kind of like just let them on, or if it's that, or
Yeah.
and these aliens and stuff like that talking about nukes and these aliens interested in nukes. If you want to believe, and I would believe this over true alien extraterrestrial aliens, that they live on the other side of the Earth's observable field,
Yeah.
and that we have started affecting them.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they started contact with us.
Yeah.
It's because they're like, hey,
enough of this.
because you're affecting us. And the alien abductions in the 50s talked about that.
Okay.
That, hey, you're affecting us. You're starting to mess with us.
Oh, yeah. We have accounts. Yep. I
we
remember
have a
talking
ton of
about
accounts.
that.
We have tons of accounts of these extraterrestrial beings being like, hey, you're screwing with us.
Wasn't the one dude Valiant Thor? Wasn't he one of them?
Yeah, but I don't.
If you believe that,
I don't believe in Valiant Thor. I know he was a
gotcha.
thing. I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't think he was anything.
It
like,
might
real.
have just be false, just a story made up.
I think he was a blue guy. I think he was a guy that painted himself blue and walked to the White House.
a blue guy.
Wasn't Valiant Thor blue?
No, he was just looked like a normal handsome dude, but he
know
had
it.
6 fingers.
I think he was blue too.
I don't think he's
I
blue.
think he was an inbred from Kentucky that they dressed up and told.
No, because they always described him as being like handsome and a big square chiseled jaw and like he just looked like a really
he had
handsome
extra
dude.
bones in his face
Yeah, not like
from his dad, brother, cousin.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh yeah, and then his spaceship there on like Lake Tahoe or something.
See, that was like the Beverly Hillbillies wagon, and they just didn't know what they were looking at.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, either
Part
way.
organic, part not.
Either way, what if he might have been, if he was real, part of a result from this? I don't know.
So if you want to believe these alien abductions, and there's like, oh no, we're from Zeta Reticuli, we're from this system.
Yeah.
They're probably lying to us because they're like,
100%.
no, we're like your neighbors.
Yeah.
We don't want you to know where we live.
They're literally
because we
living
don't
here.
want you to come. You know, we don't want you to mess with us.
Yeah.
We're trying to stop you from killing us too.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to wipe your guys' self off with disease, go right ahead. Don't kill us with your nukes.
Or they're creating disease to wipe us out.
I think they would have already done it.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's the galactic law. You can't.
Well, I'm not saying they're from space. I'm saying that they're living.
Interdimensional law.
I don't even think it's hard to explain. There's a difference between interdimensional and observable light frequencies and living on the other side of like the same plane.
Oh, I gotcha. But it's same different. It's basically the same
Kinda,
thing.
but there's different rules.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. But I mean, yeah, and maybe just how it works. Dimensions work. Who knows? I don't know. But it's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
I do think that I think Missing 411's a big hodgepodge of things that's actually happening. I don't think there's one.
Yeah,
I think somebody's getting grabbed by Bigfoot every once in a great while out in Alaska.
like portals are opening up.
I think portals are opening up. I think Dogman's a big part of it.
Or just or even like abductions, like
Abductions. I think
people out in the woods actually abducting
the literal
people.
devil.
Yeah, or that too.
Like,
Yeah,
Appalachian Intelligence had an episode where they talked about the little girl eating blueberries, and like the literal devil came up and started asking for her blueberries.
yeah. I remember. Oh, I think we talked about that off air.
Off air. Yeah, it's just, I think like all these, and then West Virginia. Why is West Virginia so special?
Right, it's a hot spot for all this stuff.
Because that's where they were mining some of the rare earth minerals that are co-occurring with coal,
Okay,
such as plutonium.
kind of say that a little. I couldn't quite hear you.
Oh gosh, no, it's because that's where they were harvesting other extremely rare earth elements, maybe like plutonium that co-occurs with coal.
Okay.
Because plutonium and radium and all that stuff kind of co-occurs with some coal veins.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
So why would Appalachia have a lot of weird monsters? It's because that's where we were doing some of the early experiments with the stuff that lives in the mountains.
Right, and then why do the experiments there? We could do it anywhere in the like. Why in Appalachia, like West Virginia of all places?
Because it's poor, and the poor people can't complain.
Well, I was just say it's maybe
Rich people
maybe
scream
it's that,
louder.
but also the like the minerals and stuff they need are right there.
Oh yeah, it's just right next.
Mine all that plutonium there, and then
Literally, and then if you're digging this big hole, put a base on top of it. Do your experiments in the big hole you're digging. Anyways.
right, yeah, and no one's gonna mess with you.
Yeah.
because they haven't.
I don't know. I think it's all connected. I really think. And then the Oppenheimer movie just came out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll have to. Maybe I'll have to watch. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things
Yeah,
about it.
I haven't heard anything.
The story of Oppenheimer is very interesting. I do know he cheated on his best friend with his best friend's wife.
He cheated
on
his wife.
He cheated. Well, he cheated on his wife too. He cheated on his best friend with his best friend's wife. Like he slept with his best friend's wife.
Oh, gotcha.
In his bed, in his best friend's bed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He did
Good
some
man.
bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Any other final thoughts?
I'm with you on this. I think the nuclear explosions definitely opened the veil or weakened the veil, opened the door.
I think it ripped. I think it ripped holes.
Yeah.
And now the electromagnetic sphere is still just trying to come back.
Yeah, it's still like because we talk about it, and you know, like we talked about on our Cryptids and Coffee show the other week about you guys like making memes about me, and like they made common stuff about, you know, the Earth and space not real and stuff. But I really don't. I mean, I'm not settled on anything about what the Earth is, where we are. I do believe though this is a plane of existence, and there's other planes all around us and above us
and automobiles.
And all of that, yeah, all around us. And I think, you know, high energy releases affects all that stuff. But this place is special, and that's why things want to be here. So value your time here. That's all I got for you guys.
I've been the great and powerful Mystery.
And I've been the infamous nuclear-powered Jay.
Remember, if you guys want to hang out with us on Patreon, get on that. Our $5 tier. I think we're doing this month is Movie Watch, and I think it may even be our documentary we're going to watch. And then the game night thing is how to decalcify your pineal gland.
That'll be fun.
It's going to be a ball. All right, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Cryptids of the Corn podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/CryptidsOfTheCorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.